They are one of the most dangerous and secretive criminal organizations in the world. More ruthless than the Yakuza, more elusive than the Sicilian Mafia, and more violent than the Mexican cartels. For decades, the 14K Triad has controlled the drug trade, human trafficking, illegal gambling, and arms smuggling across Asia and beyond. While other crime syndicates weakened over time, the 14K expanded, silently embedding themselves into politics, business, and the global underworld. Their power is rooted in secrecy, held together by blood oaths, coded rituals, and brutal discipline. Betrayal is not an option. Disobedience is met with one consequence: death. Today, we expose the terrifying rise of the 14K Triad, from their bloody origins to their global criminal empire, uncovering their ruthless leaders, billion-dollar operations, and the brutal reality of those who dare to defy them. Chapter 1: Origins, the creation of the 14K Triad. 1945, the birth of a brotherhood. The 14K Triad was not born in the shadows of crime, but in the fires of war and betrayal. In 1945, as China descended into civil war, a powerful nationalist general named Kuomintang organized a secret society to fight against the rising communist forces. His army was called 14K, named after the 14th district of the Kuomintang military headquarters. But when the communists took over China in 1949, the Kuomintang fled to Hong Kong, bringing their secret brotherhood with them. Stranded in exile, these warriors turned to crime to survive: extortion, gambling, and smuggling. This was the birth of the 14K Triad, a criminal empire that would spread across the world. Chapter 2: The Code, how the 14K Triad operates. Unlike the Mafia or the Yakuza, the 14K Triad operates under ancient Chinese brotherhood traditions. To join, recruits must undergo a brutal initiation rite known as the 36 Oaths. One of the most chilling vows states, "If I betray the brotherhood, may my body be cut into 1,000 pieces, and my soul forever wander in darkness." Once inside, every member is given a rank, a role, and a mission. The organization follows a strict hierarchy: the Dragon Head, Dai Lo, the supreme leader, untouchable and unseen. Red Poles, the enforcers, responsible for carrying out orders and punishments. White Paper Fans, the masterminds, handling bribery, business, and strategy. 49ers, the foot soldiers, responsible for street operations. Blue Lanterns, recruits in training, desperate to prove their loyalty. Once you are in, there is no escape. Chapter 3: The Global Expansion, from Hong Kong to the world. From the 1950s onward, the 14K Triad expanded aggressively, spreading its criminal empire across the globe. In Hong Kong, they ran prostitution rings, extortion rackets, and underground casinos. In Thailand, Myanmar, and Laos, they controlled heroin production in the Golden Triangle. In the United States and Canada, they flooded cities with meth and fentanyl. In Australia and Europe, they infiltrated the shipping industry, moving drugs, weapons, and humans across borders. By the 1990s, the 14K had become one of the largest drug cartels in the world, rivaling even the Mexican cartels. Chapter 4: Infamous Leaders, the mastermind behind the 14K Triad. The Shadow Kingpin's narrator. While most criminal organizations have a single, recognizable leader, the 14K Triad is different. It has been ruled by a series of shadowy masterminds, each more ruthless than the last. But among them, a few names stand out, men who shaped the 14K into the billion-dollar empire it is today. 1. The Ghost, Wan Kuk Koi, aka Broken Tooth Koi. In the 1980s and 1990s, one of the most feared leaders of the 14K was Wan Kuk Koi, known as Broken Tooth Koi. Wan ruled the streets of Macau with an iron fist, controlling the illegal gambling and extortion rackets. His reign was marked by assassinations, car bombings, and open gang wars. His empire collapsed when he was finally arrested in 1999, but even behind bars, his influence never faded. 2. The Silent General, Kwok Wing Hung. After Wan Kuk Koi's fall, the 14K needed a new leader, one who could run operations without drawing attention. That man was Kwok Wing Hung, known as the Silent General. Unlike his predecessors, Kwok operated in the shadows, avoiding the violent street wars and focusing on international expansion. Under his leadership, the 14K expanded into human trafficking, drug smuggling, and money laundering on a global scale. Chapter 5: The brutal gang wars. The 14K Triad didn't rise to power without a fight. For decades, they waged bloody wars against rival triads, leaving the streets of Hong Kong soaked in blood. The 14K versus Sun Yee-on. The Sun Yee-on Triad was the largest criminal syndicate in Hong Kong, and they weren't about to let the 14K take over. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Hong Kong witnessed some of the most violent gang wars in history. Drive-by shootings in broad daylight. Casino bombings in Macau. Brutal executions, bodies dumped in the harbor with hands tied in red silk. The police tried to crack down, but the 14K was too deeply embedded in the system. Every time a leader was arrested, a new one took his place. Chapter 6: Drug Trafficking. The billion-dollar business. If there's one thing that made the 14K Triad unstoppable, it was drugs. For decades, the Triad has been a key player in the global narcotics trade, smuggling heroin, meth, and fentanyl across continents. The Golden Triangle Connection. The 14K's drug empire begins in the Golden Triangle, a lawless jungle region where Thailand, Myanmar, and Laos meet. Here, they work with local warlords and cartels to produce some of the purest heroin and methamphetamine in the world. The global network. From the Golden Triangle, the 14K smuggles drugs using cargo ships disguised as legitimate goods, underground tunnels across the US-Mexico border, corrupt airline and port officials in Europe and Australia. But even as governments crack down, the 14K always finds new ways to operate. Chapter 7: Human Trafficking. The darkest trade beyond drugs. The 14K Triad runs one of the most horrific and profitable businesses, human trafficking. Operating under the guise of escort services and massage parlors, they control a massive network of forced prostitution and modern-day slavery. The Triad's dark industry. Women and children from rural China, Southeast Asia, and Eastern Europe are lured with false job offers, only to be kidnapped, drugged, and sold into sexual slavery. The snakeheads. The illegal immigration ring. The 14K also controls the snakehead smuggling operations, illegally transporting Chinese migrants to the US, UK, and Australia in exchange for massive debts. Many are forced to work under brutal conditions, paying off their debt for years, or even decades. For the 14K, people are just another product, sold to the highest bidder. Next, chapters 8 to 10. How the 14K continues to control the world. So far, we've covered the origins of the 14K Triad, their secret codes and rituals, infamous leaders who ruled the organization, brutal gang wars, and international expansion, drug trafficking and human slavery operations. But this is only the beginning. Chapter 8: Political Infiltration. How the 14K controls governments. The 14K Triad isn't just a street gang. They don't just fight over territory or control local drug markets. They infiltrate governments. They don't just break the law, they influence those who make it. But before you think crime is a shortcut to power, let's be clear, crime never leads to real success. It only ends in betrayal, fear, and destruction. The art of bribery. How criminals buy power. One of the 14K's deadliest weapons isn't a gun, it's a suitcase filled with cash. Corrupt police chiefs look the other way. Judges dismiss cases before they reach trial. Politicians pass laws that benefit the Triad. Sounds like a smart game, right? Wrong. Because the moment you accept dirty money, you belong to them. You're no longer in control, they are. The dark side of political crime. The 14K Triad has deep connections in China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and even Western nations. Some reports suggest that the 14K operates with the quiet approval of Beijing, helping the government maintain control over overseas Chinese communities. In return, the CCP turns a blind eye to the 14K's drug trade, money laundering, and smuggling operations. But what happens when a criminal loses favor? They vanish. Crime may seem powerful, but it has no loyalty. Chapter 9: The Business Empire, Legal Fronts, Illegal Profit. Some people think crime leads to success. That's what the triads want you to believe. But here's the truth: there is no such thing as easy money in crime. Every dollar earned in crime is covered in blood. Real estate and money laundering. The 14K is one of the largest players in the global real estate market. They buy expensive properties using drug money and dirty cash. They use fake businesses to launder billions every year. They own hotels, shopping malls, and nightclubs, all used as fronts for illegal operations. Sounds glamorous, right? Wrong, because the moment you step into crime, you can never leave. Your money is never truly yours. You will always be looking over your shoulder. And when the law catches up, the sentence is life or death. Is this the future you want? The true cost of crime. Ever wonder why the biggest criminals always end up dead or in jail? Because crime always turns against its own. No matter how much money you make, no matter how powerful you think you are, it always ends the same way. Chapter 10: Reason crime never wins. For decades, police forces around the world have tried to shut down the 14K Triad. They've arrested leaders, seized drugs, raided casinos. But the Triad always survives. Or does it? Because let's take a look at how these crime bosses actually end up dead in a gang war. Betrayed by their own men. Locked up for life, forgotten. The 3 lies of crime. Lie number 1: crime brings freedom. Truth: crime locks you in a prison of fear. Lie number 2: crime leads to wealth. Truth: wealth earned in crime is temporary and comes at a deadly price. Lie number 3: crime gives power. Truth: crime gives you enemies. And enemies will take everything from you. The right path: real success versus crime. The 14K Triad may seem powerful, but real power comes from doing what's right. If you want real success, not just temporary wealth followed by fear and death, here's what you need to do: build your future legally. Develop real skills. Surround yourself with good people. No one in the Triad truly wins. But you can choose a better future. Say no to crime. Choose real success. Your future is worth more than a briefcase of dirty cash. Final thoughts: choose the right path. We've uncovered how the 14K controls governments, the deadly truth behind their business empire, why crime never leads to real success. But now, the real question is for you. Will you chase fake success through crime? Or will you build real success through hard work, integrity, and vision? Drop a comment below. Do you believe crime pays? Or is the real reward in doing the right thing?